2 weeks ago, my fiancée Melody sent me a message that shattered the life we had built together. It read, "I'm staying at Dominic's for a few days to clear my head. Don't make it weird." Dominic, her ex from college, the one she had assured me was ancient history when I found their messages 6 months into our relationship. The same guy who still left flirty comments on her Instagram posts and who somehow managed to be at the same industry conference as her last year. We'd been together for 3 years, engaged for 8 months, and had even put down deposits for our wedding. Now, she was clearing her head at his place. I stared at the text for a full 5 minutes before responding with just 5 words. Take all the time you need. Then I got to work. First, I called our building management and had her removed from the authorized resident list. The lease was solely in my name, a detail she'd never bothered to change in nearly 2 years of living together. Next, I deactivated her access fob to the building's gym, pool, and parking garage, all covered under my membership. I also canceled the additional phone line on my plan that I'd been paying for since her phone broke 6 months ago. Then I transferred her portion of our joint savings back into her personal account. We had always kept separate personal accounts alongside our joint one, a precaution that proved wise. Finally, I packed all our belongings, clothes, jewelry, electronics, and personal items, and had them couriered to her mother's house with a simple note. These belong to Melody. Please ensure she receives them. I didn't send angry texts or blow up her phone, demanding explanations. I simply disconnected our lives one system at a time. The next day, her mother called, clearly puzzled. "Melody's things just arrived here. Is everything okay?" Melody decided to stay at her ex-boyfriend's place to clear her head. I replied calmly, "I'm just helping her clear further by giving her space. She can reach me through you if needed, as her phone might not be working." There was a long silence on the other end. Clearly, Melody hadn't filled her family in on her sudden relocation. Interesting. For days later, I was working from home when the building's doorman called. "Sir, there's a Melody Winters here, insisting she lives in your unit. She's not on the resident list anymore, and her access card isn't working. Should I let her up?" "No, Marcus. Miss Winters no longer resides here. Please do not allow her up." 20 minutes later, my work phone started ringing. Numbers I didn't recognize. I let them go to voicemail. The first message was Melody, her voice trembling. "What the hell, James? I came home, and they wouldn't let me in. My key doesn't work, and my phone's disconnected. Call me back immediately." I didn't. The second voicemail was more frantic. "This isn't funny anymore. Where's all my stuff? Why can't I get into our apartment?" The third, from her mother's number, had a different tone. "James, please. I made a mistake. Can we just talk about this?" Still, I didn't respond. That evening, I hit the gym, enjoying a quiet workout in a facility she no longer had access to. Later, I cooked myself dinner, appreciating the silence of my own space. Then, I sent one text to her mother's phone. "Melody, I received your calls. Just to clarify, there is no our apartment. The lease is in my name. There is no our phone plan. I canceled the additional line I was paying for. There is no our wedding. I postponed everything. You chose to stay with your ex to clear your head. Consider it cleared, along with your belongings which were delivered to your mother's house 4 days ago. If there are items missing, provide a list and I will check if they're here." That text opened the floodgates. Calls from her friends, her sister, and eventually her father, a man I respected. He sounded tired. "James, can I come by tomorrow to talk?" "Just me." I agreed, but not at my apartment. We met at a nearby coffee shop. He looked at me with a mix of confusion and resignation. "Melody claims you overreacted," he began. "She says she just needed space to think about the wedding. Dominic is just a friend." I nodded, then set my phone on the table. I usually don't record conversations, but I started keeping receipts when things fell off. I played an audio clip from 3 weeks earlier. Melody on a call she thought I couldn't hear. "I don't know, Dom." "Yes, we're still engaged." "No, I haven't told him yet. It's complicated. I need more time." The wedding's already paid for. I'll figure it out. Her father's face crumpled. He rubbed his eyes, his voice thick. Her mother and I raised her better than this. I believe that too, I said. We sat in silence for a moment. Finally, he asked, "What happens now?" "Nothing," I replied. "It's over." The relationship ended the moment she chose to stay with her ex. Everything else is just paperwork. It's been 10 days since that meeting. In that time, Melody's narrative has shifted several times. First, she just needed space and I overreacted. Then, she was confused about the wedding. Dominic was just a friend offering perspective. Next, I was controlling and suspicious, pushing her to reconnect with an old friend. Now, the current version is that she made a single mistake and I'm punishing her disproportionately. But not once has she acknowledged the phone conversation or the fact that she left with an overnight bag for her ex's place and didn't contact me once during those 4 days. I chose to believe her message at face value. She only reached out after realizing she was locked out. Then, as if fate had a sense of irony, I received a message from Dominic's girlfriend on Instagram. Turns out, he had told her he was merely supporting a friend through pre-wedding jitters. She found messages on his phone that suggested his support went far beyond friendly. Now she too has moved out, finding herself locked out of a life built on shaky promises. 2 women, both assuming they had secure places in relationships, now left with the stark reality of their unspoken agreements. I blocked Melody on everything except email, which I filtered to a separate folder I check once a week. Her belongings remain at her mother's house. As for the wedding, most of the deposits are refundable, and I plan to return her share once everything is settled. Cold maybe, but there's a colder truth. Texting your fiancé that you're staying at your ex's as casually as if you're announcing a weekend trip. Some people need dramatic confrontations and tearful farewells. I prefer clean exits and clear boundaries. She sent a text. I acted accordingly. End of story. A few weeks later, I received a small package by courier. Inside was an engagement ring that once belonged to my grandmother, along with a brief handwritten note from her father. This should be returned to your family. I appreciated the gesture, a rare moment of clarity in a chaotic situation. Legally, some had warned me that Melody might have a claim to my apartment, given she had lived there for nearly 2 years. However, without her name on the lease and without any direct rent payments to the landlord, her rights were minimal. I consulted a lawyer and documented everything. So far, it hasn't become an issue. Some have asked if I secretly recorded our conversations. To clarify, I didn't. Our apartment has thin walls, and one night, I overheard a conversation when I returned early from a work event. I made a detailed note of what I heard, a habit from my job documenting system vulnerabilities. Not an audio recording, just a written account. Sorry for the misunderstanding. From what I've heard through mutual friends, most of whom have sided with me, Melody is still staying with her parents. Dominic, for his part, seems to be attempting to patch things up with his girlfriend rather than offer Melody a place to stay. Interesting how priorities shift when the full story comes to light. Regarding the wedding, the venue and other vendors were surprisingly understanding. It seems this isn't their first time handling a canceled wedding under similar circumstances. Most agreed to refund our deposits minus reasonable administrative fees. Once everything is processed, I'll transfer Melody's portion to her personal account. Business is business. An unexpected twist came when Melody's younger sister reached out to apologize. She admitted that after hearing the full story, she felt embarrassed by her initial anger. She assured me that not everyone in their family condones what happened. I appreciated the gesture, a small but meaningful moment in the aftermath. For those wondering, I haven't spoken directly to Melody since this all unfolded. Her weekly emails have shifted from anger to bargaining, from attempts at rationalizing her actions to more reflective, apologetic tones. The latest read, "I never actually did anything with Dominic. I just needed to figure out if what we had was real or if I still had feelings for him." Even if that's true, which I doubt, it doesn't change the core issue. Who text their fiancé that they're staying at their ex's place to clear their head? That alone was a deal breaker. Everything after was just me executing the necessary steps to reset my life after a critical relationship failure. I've seen comments calling me cold, robotic, or heartless. I don't see it that way. When someone shows you they truly are, believe them. Melody revealed herself in that text, and I simply processed the data accordingly. This wasn't about revenge. It was about cutting my losses and moving forward. I'm not interested in a lifetime of paranoia, checking phone messages, or wondering where my partner really is every time she needs space. That's not a relationship. That's surveillance. For those still questioning if I threw away years over a single mistake, I disagree. It wasn't just one mistake. The first mistake was sending that text. The second was choosing to go to her exes. The betrayal was whatever actually happened there. The real issue was thinking this behavior was acceptable in an engagement. This isn't about holding on to anger. It's about setting boundaries and moving.